Well, looks like we're up and running. Welcome to the podcast. We're back on a Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. I always like the matching 25 November 25. So that's like the military documentation for dates. 25 NOV 25. Like that. So this is Thanksgiving week, and welcome to the podcast, the Colonel and the Kid podcast. My name, Greg Heitmann, your host for the podcast, Colonel and the Kid. I am the Kid, and the Colonel is my grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. This is a podcast dedicated to the memory and the memoir of my grandfather that I have written, and pretty much just electronically documenting the podcast through the podcast, the memoir itself. So today's chapter I'll be reading into the record is chapter 14, and it's called The Cats. So this is all about the cats that I remember my grandparents having, and some that go way back before my time when my mom was a child. And there's some pictures of her with the family pets, the family cats they had. So put that in the record later, just a little bit here. And just a little more on the podcast itself. I mean, this is, like I said, this is the spine of the podcast is the memoir that I've written about my grandfather and my relationship with my grandfather. And what I'm trying to do is put in the life lessons in each chapter. And at the same time, I guess it's kind of like my own psychotherapy. And I think I've documented in the writings itself that this is like sort of a reflection upon how I became the way that I am, for good or bad. So I don't know. It's funny to me that that's what it turned into. I don't think it started that way, but it's probably destined to be that way from the very beginning. And I have no problem with the way it turned out, but and it's very cheap and efficient psychotherapy for me. So this podcast and the actual writing itself. So this is a way I can vent some of the problems I've run into, complain about whatever it is, customer service, things that are going on in my life, and then just even talk about the stuff and read the chapter, and then maybe analyze a little more. I haven't been doing a very good job of that, I don't think. I should probably read the chapter and then have some more thoughts about it. But I'm hoping to, in the future, maybe have some guests on and pick out things here and there throughout the chapters and then expand upon them through the discussion with my guests that might be able to come on here. So I'm hoping for that and change the pace of the podcast and just have some variety coming up. In my mind, I guess I was thinking maybe I'd save that for later after the NFL season is over, because that right now that takes up a lot of the podcast, is talking about my picks and my predictions for the week, and then going over the results of the previous week and how I did for my predictions, and then complaining about my Minnesota Vikings and how terrible they are. I've moved them down to probably the second worst team in the league, battling for maybe the worst team. I think they are actually regressing, and the Tennessee Titans are progressing. So it's so hard to watch them, and I'm sad to report on the NFL in general, but most of the Vikings. But anyway, this is I think this is actually the 15th episode of the podcast, but it's only chapter 14 of the memoir. And again, the title is The Cats. And I think I'll just do that, get that right away. That's been the new format I've hit upon, where I'll just go into the chapter. And then if people don't want to listen to the rest, they can just bail out after having heard the chapter. And it's in the record. And so we're just going to jump in and do that. And then we'll move on to the rest of the podcast. So anyway, this is The Colonel and the Kid memoir, chapter 14, The Cats. And per the usual, we start off with a quote. Quote, "Time spent with cats is never wasted," end quote. And that's by Sigmund Freud, the famous psychoanalyst, psychotherapist, Dr. Sigmund Freud. And I think most of modern psychology was based upon his studies. And I think he's credited with being very observant and smart. And I think this quote reflects upon that time with cats is never wasted. So it's a good kickoff to the chapter. So here we go. Let's read the chapter. Well, let me just say too that this is a very photo-centric chapter. There's not a lot of text that goes with the actual chapter itself, and many photos. I mean, there's probably, I don't know, I just glancing through, there's probably like 10 photos. And so if you're not watching the video podcast, then you're missing out on the photos, but you can just go to YouTube and find this podcast and maybe see those. I'll insert them into the video afterwards so you can see the photos. Then I'll read the caption and describe them for just the listeners, but the photos are pretty cool. It's always these are the classic photos from the 50s and 60s from when my mom was a child, and just very few modern ones. And I don't think there's any real modern ones. And I think some of them, the most recent ones, probably from like 1985. So 40 years ago, I'm calling that modern now because I'm apparently getting so old. Anyway, let's start the chapter. Grandma and Grandpa always had cats during the time I knew them. Never dogs, always cats. This is an odd memory for me because the oldest memories of the cats seem to be the most vivid. I will even backtrack on my opening statement that Grandma and Grandpa always had cats. As I sit here and try to recall the cats in my grandparents' lives, there's a big gap. So let me correct myself. Grandma and Grandpa had cats when I first knew them, and then at the end. The two cats at the beginning and the two cats at the end were exceptional characters. I've documented some of my Siston history via screenplays and books I've written in the last few years. Most recently, I recorded some events of a late 1970s Christmas the family experienced in my screenplay called Sismas, a Siston Christmas. And parenthetically, I renamed that screenplay A Hills Christmas to try to make more sense to people, because there's probably no one in the country other than the small portion of South Dakota and neighboring Minnesota and North Dakota that knows what Siston is and would even understand what Sismas might be in relation to Christmas. So the actual name of that screenplay is A Hills Christmas. But back to the chapter, and you'll be enlightened a little more here. This screenplay, targeted for the Hallmark Christmas movie market, is highly fictionalized, but still contains some critical nuggets of my memories of Grandpa and Grandma, including the pet cats. So we have the first photo of the chapter, and I'll read the caption and then describe the photo. So this is a photo of Missy and Tinker in front of 505 Spruce Street in Siston, South Dakota, circa 1966. So it's a color photo of a Siamese cat to the far left, and then right next to the Siamese cat, more in the middle of the photo, is a big black and white cat. And the Siamese cat is Missy, and Missy's wearing a collar, black collar around her neck, and she's sitting there on the sidewalk, and Tinker's laying on the sidewalk, and he's a big black and white cat. They're both looking to their left, and I guess they're looking back towards the house. I think this is the sidewalk in front of the house, and then they're looking back maybe towards the door of the house, but just kind of chilling there, chillaxing on the sidewalk. And it's a really, really good photo. I mean, it's before I was born, and Misi looks really thin compared to the way I remember her looking when I first met her as a cat. And I don't know, Tinker is a big cat, always looked big to me. So anyway, this chapter highlights those kitty cats that mesmerized me as a little boy when we would visit Grandma and Grandpa in Sisseton. The simplicity of the memory is what hooks me into a tale of two kitties. And I add parenthetically, that is an excellent pun, if I do say so myself. So, a tale of two kitties. Yeah, love it. Anyway, Misi, and I spell it for this memoir, Meecie, and I'm not sure of the spelling, but phonetically, it seems like it makes sense. So I'll stick with this for my story. If you're reading this, Misi. Misi was a Siamese cat. Tinker was the big black cat. Big black and white cat, mostly black with white belly and white paws. Just the names pleasantly ring in my ear and force a smile to my lips. And I'll add parenthetically here that's not written in the chapter here, but that Tinker, the big black and white cat, his front feet, he could have been named Socks because he's got white feet and it looks like he's wearing socks, on his black legs. So that's pretty cool looking. Later, my Heitmann family got a cat, Fuzzy, when we lived in Rolla, North Dakota. But this recollection is pre-pet. Thus, I was probably 5 or 6 years old when I first met Grandma and Grandpa's cats. So then there's the second photo, and I have a photo of Fuzzy, and I'll read the caption and describe it. So, circa 1985, Fuzzy makes herself comfortable in my mom's sink in Groton, South Dakota. So, Fuzzy, we got her in Rolla, North Dakota, and she made the moves with us from Rolla to Billings, Montana, and then Brigham City, Utah, and then finally to Groton, South Dakota, where that was where I mostly grew up, in Groton, South Dakota. But this picture of Fuzzy, she's in the sink, just laying there, looking up towards the camera. And Fuzzy was just kind of a mongrel, mutt, hybrid cat, mostly gray, but with white patch on her face and neck. Nice cat, very friendly, and easygoing cat. Great pet. Really good pet. But back to the chapter and the cats at my grandma and grandpa's. First off, this was an introduction to cats for me. These cats were super friendly and interactive. Later, I came to understand the aloofness of the feline species, but upon arriving in Sisseton, I remember the cats being in the kitchen. Grady sat up on one end of the kitchen, and I sat up on the other end, underfoot of all the adults. We sat with our legs apart, leaning against cupboards, and we would call Tinker and Misi back and forth between us. The cats would come and curl up against your leg, and you could pet them. They would enjoy the attention for a few moments before getting up and trotting over to the competing child. This was a far cry from most cats I've ever experienced over my lifetime of cat interactions. Most of the felines I've known have been terrified of the commotion of strangers in the house and will hightail it to some nook or cranny, only venturing out later when they sense a calm has been restored. Grandma and Grandpa's cats would play. It wouldn't be long before Grandma would get some string and some newspaper, and she would craft a toy for us kids to pull across the floor and the cats to chase. This would get us out of the kitchen, and Mom and Grandma could organize the next meal. Tinker and Misi spent their lives in the house in Sisseton. I could be way off on this, but let's just roll with it. When Grandma and Grandpa relocated to the country house, there weren't any pets that I remember. Eventually, they ended up with a couple stray cats. Once again, one of the two was a Siamese cat, Tommy. Tommy was a, quote, cool cat. He was more aloof, but not unfriendly. He would appear and put up with guests and visitors petting him. This cannot be said about Patches, the quote, fraidy cat. If you, as a guest, saw the cat, it was only running at breakneck speed to hide under the bed upstairs. He was not a pretty cat, long-haired and mostly white in color with a couple patches of brownish gray, hence the name. Grandma and Grandpa enjoyed these cats for several years. The only significant event relating to those cats that I can recall was the story of Tommy and his incident with the storm door. Tommy was apparently lollygagging his way out or in through the door, and his tail didn't quite make it. Tommy had to be rushed to the veterinarian, and he ended up with a partial tailectomy. The vet had to remove about an inch of Tommy's tail. They got caught in the door, and it never looked quite right after that. It was just a little stubbier than it should have been, and the hair never quite laid down to that sleek point of a cattail. And I have another photo here of Grandpa. Grandpa Hagen, the Colonel, and he's down in his den in a chair, just leaning back, and he's got Tommy on his chest. And the caption reads, circa 1995, Grandpa enjoying the company of Tommy in the den. And Grandpa's got a gray sweatshirt and a button-up under a shirt underneath his gray sweatshirt. And he's sitting there with Tommy on his chest, and he's holding the cat and petting Tommy. And in the background, you can kind of see some of the den stuff that I talked about before. We got the Black Hawk marching color guard, the Black Hawk drill team there, a photo of that, black and white photo on the wall, and some stuff behind Grandpa. There's some bookends with the old style, like probably Civil War age style, Civil War style cannons that were decorating the bookends that he's got behind him on the ledge of the room there, on just below a bookshelf. So that's a pretty good picture of Grandpa with one of the cats. And then another picture of Tommy. And I'll read the caption here. Circa 1996, my mom, Carol Lee, holding Tommy next to Grandpa as they sit on the front deck enjoying a nice afternoon. So my mom's got Tommy's pretty big cat, the Siamese cat, on her lap, and they're sitting on the bench on the front deck, and Grandpa's sitting next to my mom and looking towards Tommy as my mom, it looks like maybe Tommy's not real happy, kind of struggling a little bit, and she's got her arm up around his neck and then one around his body, kind of holding him a little tighter. And Grandpa's kind of looking on kind of suspiciously. It's like, man, maybe that cat wants to get away. But it looks like a nice day. They're both wearing sweatshirts, probably a nice fall or spring day, and they're out just enjoying the weather, talking. Circa 1996. And then I have another picture here. And I think I'll read the caption here, and then I'll try to describe it and make some comments. Caption reads, Christmas 1983. Grandpa holds Misi as gifts are handed out. So it's a picture of Grandpa just in like a wooden dining room table chair. He's sitting there, and he's got looks like at least a couple of gifts down by his feet, but he's got the Siamese cat Misi on his lap. And I think I wasn't sure about whether they had cats out there, if the cats did make it out, moving from in town in Siston out to their country house when they moved out, but apparently they did. I'm pretty sure that's Misi. She looks like she's a little older, kind of a lot heavier than the first picture. And Grandpa's wearing blue jeans, boots, and a Wilson sweatshirt, getting ready to open some Christmas presents as Misi observes all the action. Back to a little bit about the chapter. My mom, Carol Lee, being the good daughter she is, took both those cats into her house when events ended up forcing Grandma and Grandpa to move into a duplex in Siston that didn't allow pets. Patches and Tommy lived out comfortable lives in Groton under the care of my parents. And I don't have a date when that happened, but I remember that. And Tommy and Patches were there in Groton, and I'd come home to visit, and Patches was still so scared. She'd be terrified if he saw strangers. If I ever saw her, it was just a streak as she went back to the back bedroom to hide underneath the bed. But Tommy he'd be lollygagging around, slowly walking through the house, taking his time. Nice Siamese cat. So here I have another photo, and it's I'll read the caption. Christmas 1983. Misi struts almost invisibly through the chaos of gift opening. So I think when I first saw the photo, just when I was looking at some of the photos to try to put into the memoir, and especially this chapter about the cats, this one almost escaped because you could barely even notice there's a cat walking through the scene. There's all these Christmas wrapping papers torn open, boxes, and still some Christmas presents laying around on the floor. And then here's the cat kind of walking through it, the mess, and she kind of just blends in with all the colors, different colors. And then in the background, I mean, the cat, Misi's in the foreground on the floor, but in the background is Karen Tungy, my cousin. She's probably about 4 or 5 years old. And then she's standing right in front of Grandpa. This is on the left side of the photo. And Grandpa's reaching over for something and towards Grandma. And Grandma's on one side of the couch. And then Garrett's on the other side of the couch that they're sitting on. And I think that couch is actually the hide-a-bed that I talked about previously in the den chapter. And so she's holding something up. She just must have unwrapped as a Christmas present. And Garrett's engrossed. I think he was probably, well, if this is 83, I think he was 10 years old. And he's got a Snoopy electric toothbrush he's really focused on there, opening up the gifts. But it's like a blast from the past, just the nostalgia of Christmas time and just the chaos of gift opening. So, but back to the chapter. I'm not sure if I have a true life lesson to share with this chapter. And I would end parenthetically. That's what I've kind of hit upon, that this memoir is also trying to impart life lessons that Grandpa shared with me and family. So I'm trying to, in turn, kind of record those and maybe share them with everybody else. But anyway, like I said, I'm not sure if I have a true life lesson to share with this chapter. I would say it's a good example of the joy pets can bring to your life. I will attempt to circle back to this subject in a later chapter. But yeah, I guess maybe I'll take a little moment here just to talk about pets in general and just for companionship. They're such calming things in your life that you can just have a almost like a guaranteed friend if you have a cat or a dog in your household, that you can pet them and talk to them. They don't talk back. They have smart remarks all the time. They're just good company. I really recommend getting a pet if you can have if you have the ability to do that. And I think another thing too, and I guess maybe a great thing that I think it's documented in certain places too, is just that I think pets provide a helpful effort towards immunity to a lot of things, a lot of diseases and sickness and colds and everything, because they have a lot of different germs that they have that you can, if you're living with them, then you can help develop an immunity just because they're of the just the different types of things that you're exposed to. So you'll have a healthier life, not only psychologically. If you're healthy psychologically, then your body has better immunity. So plus the actual germs and anything else that the pets are putting on your skin because you're petting them or anything else. So anyway, sort of the life lesson of this chapter, I think, is just the benefits of having a pet, especially cats in this case. So yeah, I say that because it was always cats for my grandma and grandpa. They never had dogs. So anyway, there's another photo here of, and it says, circa 1955, the sleek Siamese cat, Misi, poses for a photo on a stool. And I think it's Misi. I'm not sure about the actual cat or the actual date of this photo. I kind of just made a semi-intelligent guess of the time frame. And it's a really cool photo because it's so crisp. I mean, if it was 1955, I mean, that's, 60 years ago, and the photo just looks like it could have been taken yesterday, except the decor is definitely 50s and 60s style, but the colors and the crispness of the photo, it's very good. And I'm pretty sure it was taken by my grandpa, and it's got a flash, and really the flash has highlighted the face of the cat itself, and it's a perfect example of a nice Siamese cat. Well, in the Siamese, I don't know if I described that at all before, but the Siamese cats, they're kind of like a tannish golden color in their body, and they have darker brown, blackish legs, and a darker tail, like almost black tail. And then their face itself, it's a dark face and dark ears. So those dark features on the edges of the body, and then the feet and tail, and then the face and the outline of the ears in that dark color, it's really striking. And I think they have blue eyes too. So that's really the typical Siamese cat. They have that blue eyes and just a very, very attractive looking cat. So then we have another photo, and I'll read the caption and then try to describe a little bit. And it says, circa 1958, Carolee hugs her beloved kitty cat, Bandit. And it's a picture of my mom, and she's hugging a cat. She's sitting on the couch, and she's really hugging the cat. The cat's face is in the crook of her elbow and her left arm there. And my mom's looking right at the camera, and the cat's looking at the camera. The cat has I don't know, it's a weird expression. It's hard to discern if that cat is like annoyed by being held, or if it's like really loving this, or just really digging the idea of resting its chin right on my mom's elbow there, crook of her, inside of her elbow. So it's very, again, a very crisp and bright colored photo. Really, I really enjoy seeing that with a high quality and stability of that stuff. I mean, from 1958, I'm pretty sure that's when that was. I think I got that date narrowed down from my mom and from information she provided. And then we have a Christmas photo. So I'll read the caption and try to describe it. So it says, Carolee and Kathy celebrate Christmas with the big cat, Butterscotch, circa 1959. So I think, I don't know, I don't know. I'm not sure about the dates for exactly, but I think it's probably pretty close. And so my mom is on the left side of the photo. She's wearing a gray skirt, bright red top. And Kathy's on the right side wearing a plaid blue skirt and blue top. And they're sitting in front of the Christmas tree in the background. There's a bunch of presents in the background. And there's this big butterscotch colored cat, kind of a medium haired. It's almost a longer haired cat. And the cat's kind of it looks like it's in a Christmas gift box, just kind of relaxing there. And they're both kind of petting the cat, looking down at it. They're not looking at the camera at all. They're both sitting on the floor. And other big wrapped presents are surrounding them. It looks like a real tree with a lot of ribbons and lights on it. And just that classic 1950s Christmas. So again, really Really got some vibrant colors that came through in that picture and stayed all this time. Very nice to see. And then below that picture is another picture of what I guess what I was told was butterscotch, and so I'll read the caption here. Circa 1959. This has to be an optical illusion because this cat, Butterscotch, looks to be about 50 pounds. I'm not sure how Aunt Kathy is posing with Grandma can hold that cat, because I'll try to describe it here, but it's in the kitchen of the 505 Spruce Street Sisson house that was in town there, and Grandma's standing in front of the oven that's in the wall there. It's built-in oven, and then Kathy's standing in front of Grandma, and then Kathy's holding in her arms this it's a giant looking cat that I'm pretty sure it's the same one that was in the previous photo, called Butterscotch, and it's this, that tabby. I'd call it a tabby, long-haired tabby, if you want, if that is a thing of cats, but it's kind of, that yellowish, tan colored, hence the name Butterscotch. But this cat looks just giant. It looks like just a big, huge, fat cat that, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a lot of fur on it. That's why it looks so heavy, but it doesn't look like Kathy's struggling to hold it up, and she's a little kid. And so I don't think it's 50 pounds, but it sure looks like it's a massive beast that she's trying to hold. In the 1950s kitchen there's a telephone hanging on the wall, attached to the wall. Really nothing else on the walls. It's kind of weird, kind of empty looking, like a kitchen table on the left side. And like I said, they're standing in front of the oven in the center of the photo. And then to the right is it's like the stovetop built into the counter, and just that the lighter kind of wood colored cabinets, and same just for that, the wall covering itself. I don't know if it's a paneling, but I mean, very representative of that time for the decorations and the decor for the house. And another photo, like I said, this very photo-centric chapter. Not a lot of text, a lot of photos though. And this one I couldn't resist putting in, and I think, I'm not sure. I'll read the caption here. It says, "The roar of Tinker makes for an excellent photo, circa 1955." And I don't think that's probably correct, because I think this is actually Bandit, and I don't know. It looks like this cat. It's a big black and white cat, but it looks like it could be Tinker because it's got the white feet, and it's black, but it might be Bandit, and maybe the time frame's off, because that cat, by the time I would have known that cat, it would have been 20 years old. I don't think it was 20 years old when I first met it. But this photo was taken on like the banister of the Sisson house in town, and for some reason, I think the cat is yawning and stretching, and as it's laying on the ledge of the banister for the steps. So it's like extending a paw out as it's stretching, and its mouth is wide open. He's got some huge teeth that it's baring. So that's why I said it looks like it's roaring like a tiger or a lion. But pretty good photo. It was too good not to put into the record here. So, and then again, here's a picture of I called it circa 1958, where I'll read the caption here. Circa 1958, the two sisters posed with their kitties. Carolee on the left with Missy, and Kathy on the right with Butterscotch, and they're sitting on their couch in front of it looks like the big picture window in the Sisson house. And They're my mom's wearing like a dress, really, um, kind of like it looks like a fancier dress, dark blue or black with some, I don't know if it's sequins on it. It's kind of, and it's got a white collar, and she's got Misi on her lap. And it's kind of dark so that they have a flash on this photo. My mom's on the left, and then Kathy's on the right, and she's holding butterscotch, and the cat looks very large there too. And they're both smiling, look at the camera, and the cats are looking at the camera too. And it's kind of dark in the room except for where the flash is hitting my mom and my Aunt Kathy. And nice photo. And here's another photo. Um, I'll read the caption and try to describe it. So, family and friends pose for a photo circa 1955. My mom, Carolee, on the left, on the far left of the couch, and Aunt Kathy on the floor with Tiger. So, I think the date's got to be fairly close, given the ages of Aunt Kathy in the photo and my mom on the couch. And I'm not sure who the other people are. There's 3 other people on the couch with my mom, and the one to the left of my mom, um, well, I think I have, I guess I have the directions wrong on the couch. On the far right of the couch, to the left of the photo, my mom is sitting, and then to her left, it looks like an older girl, and then a younger boy, and then maybe a girl that's the same age as my mom. And all the girls on the couch are wearing dresses. And then Kathy, she's a young girl. She's wearing like a little skirt or something. She sits cross-legged on the floor, petting the cat, Tiger. So it's a nice color photo. And I don't know, it's pretty good. And then I think this is the last photo I have. So this must have been taken the same time, because it looks like Kathy's in the same outfit she's wearing previously in the above photo, but she's sitting in a chair that I think I referenced previously with all that she was holding pheasants on, and had the ducks and geese on the floor in the house. But so I'll read the caption. Kathy's favorite chair to pose for a photo. She sits for a portrait with Tiger circa 1955. So Kathy's sitting on the chair, and next to her is Tiger, this cat, and the cat's got its eyes closed. It looks like it's really enjoying itself. And Kathy's not looking at the camera. She's looking off to her right, kind of just not looking towards the camera. And the flash has flashed, and she's got kind of like a checkered plaid skirt and orange socks. The skirt is black and green and tan, and she's got like a light colored, maybe cream colored shirt on. And I think she's probably like, I don't know, 5 years old, 6 years old. That's my guess. So good photo. I like the callback to that same chair where she sat. She sat with holding a dead pheasant on her lap, and then pheasants on the arms of the chair. And in this photo, it's the cat, Tiger. It's like, and the cat, I should describe the cat too. The Tiger is kind of a gray, a typical gray striped cat, with the tiger stripes and white chin, but gray, mostly gray with stripes. So those are way before my time, so I don't know anything about those cats, but it's just a typical looking gray cat with stripes. And great picture. Really good pictures for this chapter. I probably could have had another easily 10 more pictures of cats in this chapter, but it was getting to be kind of a lot of photos as it turned out already. So that's it. That's the end of the chapter. And then as we always do, we close out the chapter with a quote. And this quote is, quote, "A cat has absolute emotional honesty. Human beings, for one reason or another, may hide their feelings, but a cat does not," end quote. And that is Ernest Hemingway. He had noted history of cats. I think that when he was down in the Keys, Key West, out at the Florida Islands, when he was living down there, he had some famous cats, and I think they had like 6 toes on their feet, their front feet. So they were kind of weird cats. And so he had famous cats, famous relationship with cats for Ernest Hemingway, the noted American novelist, probably the premier novelist of his time. So I would say we start with a genius at the front and a genius at the back. And I have to believe that based on what they say about cats and their own special genius that they have, I'd say cats are indeed special. So anyway, that concludes the chapter 14, The Cats. And if you're just listening, I'd recommend go to the video podcast and just go through that and see the photos of all those cats and the people enjoying the company of cats and that. And the next chapter is going to be chapter 15, The Big Sky Visit. No, so this is going to be a classic chapter because this is sort of the cover photo of me and the Colonel. So we'll save that. That's a tease for next time. You're going to have to check out the photo of the Colonel and the kid next time with that. In The Big Sky Visit, of course, the Big Sky is Montana. So that's where that photo was taken when we lived in Billings, Montana. So, but that's for next time. On to the rest of the podcast. So those that are just listening for the Colonel and the Kid memoir reading, there you go. You're done. You can escape and get on to bigger and better things for your day. Well, I'm stuck here talking about the NFL. No, it's a good week. We had a good week picking games. Not a good week for the Vikings, but let's go on to the NFL update. And start with the summary of the week. 11-3, 14 games total, 11-3. Not too bad. It got me 1 more percent closer to the much ballyhooed 70% that I'm searching for, trying to get 70% accuracy on my picks. No spreads, just picking winners each week. And so far, I'm 121-56 on the year. That's not too bad. I should not complain at all. And coming off a pretty good week, I started off Thursday night game terrible. I had a big loss on that. I'll have to go back and look at my picks for Thursday nights so far this year and tally them up and let you know, because I think if you were betting these games, which I highly discourage, and you picked against the opposite of what I picked each time, I think you'd probably be winning money. But again, I don't want you to do that. I discourage that. And so please don't gamble, especially on the NFL. So the Bills lost to the Texans on Thursday night. I picked the Bears and they beat the Steelers in Chicago. So that was a good game for me. Patriots at Bengals. I picked the Patriots and they won. Very close game though. Lions at Giants, or Giants at Lions. Lions were behind the whole game. They came back and won that in overtime. And I will say that, again, my disappointment in the NFL officiating showed up here, and I just cannot let it go how bad the officiating is and how it determines these games, because there was a call at the end of the game that allowed the Lions to get back in this game. Giants were down at the Lions 5-yard line, just getting ready to score. Probably would have been the winning touchdown, but they ended up, Detroit jumped way off sides, and there was no flag, and they ended up stopping a running play, and the Giants, I guess they compounded the misery because they ended up, I think, going for it on 4th down and not scoring or not kicking a field goal, which allowed Lions to come down and kick a game-tying field goal and then win in overtime. But the offsides, it was such a flagrant offsides, and then the Giants offensive linemen were just dumbfounded, pleading with the officials saying, why aren't you throwing a flag on that? And it's just like so ridiculous. I just don't want to be the conspiracy guy all the time on this stuff, but this looks like it's fixed. It looks like we've turned into professional wrestling, and just it cannot be stopped. We have a script and we follow it, and we have our regular season that winnows it down into the playoffs, and we have what we want to see for the playoffs. I mean, I'm saying the NFL has their formula for what provides the best, I guess, the best viewing, the best audience that they can drum up, and so they can sell TV commercials so people tune in. And it's just it's so hard. It's so hard to just keep watching this stuff. But I do. So who's the loser? It's me. I'm losing. Anyway, Packers played at home against the Vikings. I picked the Packers, and that was an easy pick because, like I said to start this podcast, I think the Vikings may possibly be the worst team in the league at this point. I've consistently said I think the Titans are the worst team, but after watching that whole game, the Vikings versus the Packers, and the Packers are not that good. And the Vikings have no offense. It's boring. It's not entertaining. I just kick myself for even spending any time watching it. But Vikings are just losers, and it's sad. So the next game was Seahawks at the Titans, and like I said, the Titans are the worst team in the league, but the Seahawks, I think they beat the Titans by I want to say it was 31-24, so it was like one touchdown. The Titans scored a touchdown at the end, so it was like a 14-point lead at the end, but they scored a kind of like a garbage touchdown to cut it to 7. But they scored 24 points. The Vikings kicked 2 field goals the whole game against Green Bay, and like I said, Green Bay's not that good. So I'd be hard to argue with you if you claim that the Vikings are the worst team in the league and that the Titans are actually better, even though Titans have only won one game on the season. I think if the Titans played the Vikings right now, I think the Titans would win that game. So Colts at the Chiefs, and I picked the Chiefs in this one. I thought if the Chiefs don't win this game, I think they're going to be out of any playoff hunt. And the Chiefs pulled it out. They scrapped, came back to tie it in regulation, and then kick a winning field goal in overtime to beat the Colts. That was a pretty good game, pretty hard hitting. I think it ended up 23-20. Not a lot of scoring, but enough plays, I think, that made it worthwhile. I was watching the Vikings, so I didn't really see much of that game. Jets played the Ravens in Baltimore. Ravens handled them pretty easily, I think. There wasn't much of a contest. I think Lamar Jackson is hurt, but he's playing through it, so he's not really productive. So just barely scraping by, trying to get to the playoffs. For some reason, I picked the Raiders to win at home over the Browns. And the Raiders are so terrible that I could not believe I actually picked them when I was watching that game. Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, started his first NFL game as quarterback for the Browns and won the game, so he's good enough to beat the Raiders, a supposedly NFL professional team. Raiders are so terrible. Jaguars beat the Cardinals. I think that went into overtime also, and the Jaguars kicked a field goal to win that and then hold on because the Cardinals had the ball and just ended up turning it over on fourth down on that game. So that was a pretty ugly showing for the Jaguars, but they keep winning ugly. They keep hanging in there to hold their playoff position. So I don't know. Maybe the Jaguars will make the playoffs. Good for them. Way better than the Vikings. That's all I can say. Not a fan of either team, though. I picked the Eagles over the Cowboys, but I think I warned everyone that I didn't like that game at all. And I think it shaped up the way that the NFL wanted. Well, not exactly the way they wanted. The outcome is what the NFL wanted. The Cowboys ended up winning on a last second field goal, but the Eagles got up 21-0 and then just 21-0 at halftime, and then just continued to play not to lose. And then when it came down to crunch time, when it finally got close, the Eagles had two big turnovers, fumbled two times. One, they were marching down, getting down to score. Saquon Barkley fumbled. And then later, the punt returner down at his own 5-yard line fumbled. And those two big fumbles just killed the Eagles' chances and boosted the NFL's Thanksgiving Day week, because Thanksgiving is going to be some pretty good games coming up. We'll talk about them, but the Cowboys stayed in the hunt for the playoffs. They basically have to win out to make the playoffs, but they have a chance, Unlike the Vikings, I think the Cowboys do have a chance, and I think the Cowboys do play the Vikings this year, so we'll see how that matchup goes, and I know who I will be picking in that game in the future. Falcons played the Saints. Falcons got the W. That was a pretty easy pick for me. It was a much closer game than I pictured it would be, but Falcons have a lot of injuries now. Kirk Cousins is starting quarterback, and he is over the hill. I mean, it's hard to watch. I mean, just no, he can't move. I don't think he's ever recovered from his torn Achilles, and I think that's affected his whole mechanics to be able to throw the ball. But he won the game, so here I am criticizing him. But oh well. And then the Buccaneers played at the Rams on the Sunday night game, and that was the big matchup. But the Buccaneers have so many injuries, and the Rams, I believe, are the best team in football right now. And if I was to go bet any money at the casino, I'd bet them to win the Super Bowl right at this stage of the year. A lot can happen. A lot of injuries can happen. And one of the most interesting things about the Rams is they have a linebacker, and his last name is Landman. And for those of you who have listened to my podcast previously, I've talked about the show called Landman. And I think it's just such a coincidence that there's a guy that's starting linebacker for the Los Angeles Rams. His last name is Landman. And they were talking about him on the broadcast saying, no, this is a guy that was kind of a nobody, and then came over, signed like a 1-year $1 million contract to play for the Rams. And then last week they signed him to a big extension. I don't know what he's making. He wasn't making $1 million a year. Now he's making, I think he signed like I don't know what it was, a 3-year, $10 million a year, like a $30 million contract extension. It's like, that sounds much like a parallel plot to the oil drama TV show Landman, where this guy comes from nowhere, just a regular low-level, low-pay football player, then suddenly he's become, a mega millionaire overnight, and well-deserved by him, because he was pretty good. I saw him making lots of tackles. His name was called quite a bit, and it's funny how I can't remember where he came from. He was with another team and left them and showed up at the LA Rams, and just his work ethic and his ability and his knowledge of the game turned into just this star suddenly, just kind of out of nothing. I should have done some more research. I'm not even sure where he went to college or where he was before, but I will maybe do that next time. We can give that NFL update on him and his star trajectory and his paralleled path on the TV show Landman. Maybe he can make a guest appearance. That'd be pretty cool. Landman, welcome to Landman. So there you go. Finally, last night, Monday Night Football, Panthers at 49ers. Pretty rugged game. There's a lot of turnovers. I did pick the 49ers, and they won. And I had picked the Rams over the Buccaneers too. So ended up 11-3 on the week. Not too bad. And there was the bye teams for last week, were the Broncos, Chargers, Redskins, and Dolphins. So that was week 12. Now we're on to week 13. And again, Thanksgiving week. Got a lot of games this weekend, throughout the weekend. We have 3 games on Thanksgiving Day, and then we have a Black Friday game, and then we have the Sunday games, and then Monday night. So I'll go through my picks here with you, and you can laugh at them and make fun of me next week, because I'm going through these and say, well, these are pretty obvious to me. This seems like a fairly straightforward week, which could only mean I'm going to be suffering a very bad record at the end of this week, because it seemed like, oh, obviously, yeah, these guys are going to win these. So I'll go through them, and you can have a good laugh later on as we review them next week. All right. I think the first game on Thanksgiving Day, I think that comes on at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So that's a very early start. It's the traditional Detroit host the game, and this year it's the Packers at the Lions, and I'm picking Detroit. I don't know. This is just, I think Detroit's going to get back on track now that the officials are seemingly helping them. Could be a good game, could be close, and I know, like I said, I'm picking Detroit. It seemed obvious to me, but Packers are so up and down that they could, who knows, maybe they get on fire. Maybe Detroit turns the ball over and loses badly, but going Detroit. Second game, the afternoon game, this probably comes on like 1:30, 2 o'clock Mountain Time, and traditional Cowboys hosting this game. And this is a good one, the Cowboys and Indians, except these Indians are Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs play at Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving Day. This is a game, this is elimination. This is like a playoff game to me, in my mind. Chiefs and Cowboys, if you lose this game, you're pretty much done. You're out of the playoff race. You might as well just pack it in, and if you're a player, it's like, okay, just don't get hurt the rest of the season. So you're healthy going into next season. If you're in a contract year, be careful. So I don't know. I'm picking the Chiefs. Nothing would surprise me in this game. I think the Chiefs are kind of organizing things and getting ready to make a run in the playoffs. So I'm going Chiefs in a close one. Theoretically, high scoring. Some of the stuff, rumblings I've been hearing about in the media, is that the Chiefs are going to try to run the ball more. Cowboys try to run the ball more, so maybe it's going to be low scoring. But I think the Chiefs have a lot better defense than what people give them credit for. And Spagnuolo, what's his name? I can't remember. They call him Spags. Spagnuolo. I think it's Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator. Man, he has made like a historic living being Kansas City Chiefs defensive coordinator. As good as Patrick Mahomes is, I think just the unheralded defense for the Chiefs has been great in their Super Bowl runs, and this year holding them in for a chance to get their offense going to make the playoff run potential. So we'll see. As usual, I would be cheering against both teams. Not equally. I will be cheering against both teams, but I will be cheering for the Chiefs because I'm picking them for this game. So there's that. And then finally, on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, the evening game, which I looked up to see when they first started doing this. And it was like 2006 is when they brought this first primetime game back to Thanksgiving night, which is awesome because it sure gives you something to look forward to watching in the evening and relaxing after a long day, hanging out with relatives, and get back and lay on the couch and watch football. What could be better? And so it's Bengals at Ravens. The Bengals are it's just so sad. They're they got these superstars that they pay a lot of money to, and then whether it's injuries, suspensions, and more injuries and bad defense, Cincinnati Bengals cannot catch a break, and I think they're going to get crushed by the Ravens. But I think only because I think the Ravens defense is back on track, and I think it's really going to shut down the Bengals Could be wrong. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised with a good competitive game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ravens just dominate. And then on Black Friday, the Friday game, that's I think they just started doing this. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think this game is actually on Amazon Prime because they don't have Amazon Prime doesn't have a Thursday game. These are other games are on the network TV. So the Packers in Detroit, that's on Fox, and the Chiefs at Cowboys is on CBS, and then the Bengals at Ravens is on NBC, and then the Friday game I think is on Amazon Prime. I think that's right. Pretty sure. So I'm going Eagles. I think Chicago is going to get brought back down to reality here against the Eagles, even though the Eagles have just been so vanilla. They're winning. They got a winning record. Somehow they managed to lose to the Cowboys. I think that's more towards the viewership and the script for the NFL. I think I already mentioned that, but so anyway, I'm going Eagles. Sunday games, 49ers at Browns. Don't like this game as much as probably should, but I think 49ers will handle the Browns. Browns defense is just very suffocating. We could maybe see some surprise here, but I mean, if the Browns had a decent quarterback, I think it would be mostly competitive, but I think 49ers are going to dominate on offense. And then the 49ers defense is pretty, even though they have injuries, I think they got some coaching there that's going to lead them to victory. Next one on the list here, Jaguars at Titans. Do not like this game at all because the Jaguars are so inconsistent, and so there's so much variability for them. It's just hard to even have any confidence in the Titans. Again, the worst team in the league, except for maybe the Vikings. Titans getting better. So they're playing at home on Thanksgiving. Maybe they get a little burst. But I'm picking Jaguars, but don't be surprised. Texans at Colts. Do not like this game either. I mean, just offhand, you say, oh, Colts easily at home. But the Texans have been playing a lot better. Their defense is, I think, might be number one in the league, all NFL. And the Texans beat the Bills last Thursday night, so they have some momentum. And it's just, I do not like this game. I'm picking the Colts, but zero confidence in this one. Saints at Dolphins. Picking Dolphins. No reason other than they're at home. And what I've seen from the Saints is that they're such a an organization that's in total dysfunction because they have to tear down everything and rebuild from scratch. They just have what do you say? Just have such a lack of talent on the team. I mean, they're like a minor league NFL team right now. I mean, it's a bad product. The NFL should be embarrassed that this is happening to them. So anyway, good luck. Good luck, Saints. I mean, and I say that without any actual truth or, without any authenticity of wishing you good luck. I hope you lose, and I hope the Dolphins beat you soundly, like 40-0, because I really dislike your organization. So Falcons at Jets. For some reason I picked the Falcons. I'm looking at it's like, apparently I picked the Falcons, but the Jets they've just totally jettisoned any of their talent that they had, trying to build for the future with picks. They do have a good running back for the Jets. Falcons have Kirk Cousins starting, got a lot of experience there. The Falcons have they have two good running backs with the Falcons, so that's where I'm putting my money on the Falcons. I mean, if I was actually putting money on it, I'm putting my pick on the Falcons. No money. Cardinals at Buccaneers. Buccaneers had such a terrible showing against the Rams, which, again, the Rams, number one team in the league in my book. It's easy to see why that would have happened to them last Sunday. But the Cardinals are They have a little more heart than I first suspected they had, but I think the Buccaneers. Well, I mean, if Baker Mayfield is going to play, I think he's going to. I think the Buccaneers will be able to get back on track against Cardinals. Cardinals have some. They're. I'm not sure. I don't think their best receiver is going to play in. Marvin Harrison Jr. had appendicitis and had his appendix removed, so had surgery. So he's not surprisingly he's unable to play after having surgery because guess what? If you get hit after having surgery, you could really probably tear up your stitches and everything else. So, probably just best to keep him not playing. But Buccaneers, Rams at Carolina. Rams playing tough, going across the country to play at Carolina. I think the Rams just overpowering, just every position just a little better. Carolina building something, but not yet. I mean, they're a ways away, I think. Vikings at Seahawks. Vikings got to go out to Seattle. Very tough place to play. I feel sorry for the Vikings going out there. The Vikings they get screwed over every time they go out to play in Seattle. So I look for this game to be out of hand early, and this could be. I think the Seahawks could run it up. I think you might be looking at like a 40-6 game, 40-10, 40-13. Seahawks do not like it. I will watch it, but it's probably gonna be painful. Next we have Bills at Steelers. I like this game on paper because just for the old school strength of the franchises. Both franchises have had success. I mean, the Bills, no Super Bowl wins, but gone to the Super Bowl a lot of history there. Bills lost to the Texans last Thursday. They've had a few days extra to get rested up, get back on track. They've had a couple big losses in a row. Steelers lost. Aaron Rodgers injured. I think he's going to be back playing. So it could be an interesting game just because the Bills' defense is terrible. Steelers' offense not great, but with Aaron Rodgers there, it might be okay. I mean, it might be a good matchup. The Bills' offense good, Steelers' defense aging but still putting up a fight. I don't know. I'm picking the Bills, but again, I wouldn't be surprised to see Steelers at home on Thanksgiving holiday. I could see Steelers winning that game, and I do get nostalgic for the Steelers because they were one of the prime rivals for my Vikings way back when I was a kid, the Fran Tarkenton era. And then even more recently, one of my favorite radio guys, Rush Limbaugh, was a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And he would talk about Steelers once in a while on his radio show. And Rush Limbaugh died. It'll be 5 years coming up here, I think, in January. Didn't really miss his broadcasting entertainment. He was, in the political realm, but he was more of a comedian / entertainer than political pusher. And man, when he died, it was very sad to me. And well, I mean, along with it was right along the same time that my dad passed away. So it was like just a double whammy, just two gut punches when we lost those guys, and for me personally. But I remember when he announced that he died of lung cancer. I remember when he announced that he had it and he was going through treatments and stuff. He was going to be gone a lot for his radio broadcasts. And it was just like, ugh, just the worst. And so, I mean, I feel like I have an affiliation with the Steelers because of Rush Limbaugh, if nothing else. So maybe I'm secretly cheering for them, but not this week because I picked the Bills and I want the Bills to win, and I want to push towards 70% pick percentage. Raiders at Chargers. Raiders, I would say the Raiders are battling for the bottom of the league. They might be worse than the Vikings. I think that might be a great game. Vikings against the Raiders. I don't think they're playing this year. But man, if we could arrange that would be a good battle. Chargers coming off a bye. Chargers played so poorly. I think before the bye week, I think they went out to Jacksonville Jaguars and got just thrashed. So I think they've had so many injuries, but I'm thinking maybe they got a little recharged. No pun intended. The Chargers got recharged by the bye. So I'm picking the Chargers to, vent some of their frustration on the poor, lowly Raiders. The Raiders just so bad. They are in a total rebuild too. Very similar to the Saints, except I don't hate them like I hate the Saints. There you go. Picking the Chargers. And Sunday night game, big. This is probably, when it's first scheduled, probably looked great on paper. Now it's going to probably be a joke. Broncos at Redskins, football night in America on Sunday night on NBC. So this one, the primetime game, and still trying to get Sean Payton to come on my podcast and talk about football and life in general, and see if he's got any good life lessons he'd like to impart. Maybe talk about our grandparents, and reaching out to him to see if he'll come on the podcast, and in the future, maybe we'll have him as a guest. And I would, if I can do that, maybe I could have a recurring segment with Sean Payton, head coach for the Denver Broncos and former coach for the New Orleans Saints. So trying to get him on the podcast, keep working on it. And I'm picking the Broncos. I'm not going to cheer for them, but it's I don't know. They are kind of my local team because they're only 350 miles away. I think that's the closest team to me here in Santa Fe. So I would say they're my local team, and I kind of have some leanings toward them. But thanks to Sean Payton, I kind of pushed them away. But like I said, we're working on getting Sean Payton on the podcast and bury the hatchet. And then the feud we have, well, my feud with him, I'm sure he doesn't even know who I am. But maybe he does, and maybe he's going to be on the podcast soon and we can talk about it. So anyway, I look forward to that conversation in the future. And finally, Monday Night Football, a blast from the past from 15 years ago, a classic matchup between the Giants at the Patriots. I picked the Patriots in this game, but Giants have been, what do I say? The Giants have been lighting it up, exciting with Jameis Winston at quarterback while Jackson Dart recovers from his concussion. I think Jackson Dart might be back for this game. But Jameis Winston that guy is boom or bust. I mean, he just lights it up and throwing the ball everywhere down the field, piling up yards and touchdowns, but then he throws interceptions, and it's just, it's crazy watching him play. I think he's going to have a long, long career as a backup in the NFL because he's exciting to watch. I'll give him that much, but I'm picking the Patriots. And so there's 16 games this week, no buys. So I'm going to cross my fingers, hope for the best on this one, that creep ever so much closer to that 70%. But as I said, I'm a little worried because I had my initial reaction. I thought, these picks are coming to me very quickly, and I'm making my picks no problem. And that sometimes means doom when the final result. So anyway, that's the NFL update for the week and predictions for the week, and send you off on the NFL journey early this week with lots of games. Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. It's going to be NFL just gold. We have gold out there this week with matchups and number of games we're playing, number of days we're seeing on the docket. So it's a good NFL week for everybody. No buys, 16 games. Awesome. So that's Thanksgiving in the NFL, and now we're gonna have let's do the music update. I just want to do a little quick music update because Thanksgiving is so late. I mean, we're a month away from Christmas right now, November 25th, December 25th. I mean, it's a month away. It's hard to believe. And I haven't been hearing much Christmas music, but we did have a Christmas music discussion last night at supper. And so I thought I'd bring up the music update, talk about a couple Christmas songs and a couple of my favorite Christmas songs. So the one that got us into this discussion was Jose Feliciano, and it was Feliz Navidad, and that's one of my favorite. I call that my number 2 on my list of favorite Christmas songs. And I didn't know. I've wondered if he wrote that song, and it turns out he did write that song. So those of you that don't know Jose Feliciano, he's blind, like Spanish acoustic guitar expert. Really peaked in the 1960s. Did a cover of "Light My Fire," the song by The Doors. Did like a really slow version of that on his Spanish acoustic guitar. and then he wrote that Christmas song Feliz Navidad, and that was always Christmas. That meant Christmas was here because back in South Dakota they have a restaurant, fast food restaurant called Taco John's, and they use that song as part of their commercials for the holiday Christmas Taco John's advertising. So excuse me, I'm losing my voice here, so I'm gonna probably have to shut down the podcast and early because of a lack of voice for Christmas time. I think maybe I was singing too much Feliz Navidad. No, that's not true. So anyway, but I wanted to get to my favorite Christmas song, and that to me it signifies Christmas is here. And that maybe a lot of people don't know this, but it's my favorite song for Christmas is "Silver Bells," version by Dwight Yoakam, and it's got like I would say it's a Spanish Tejano tinge to it. So my 2 number 1 Christmas songs are "Silver Bells" by Dwight Yoakam and "Feliz Navidad" by Jose Feliciano. So check them out, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. They're upbeat Christmas songs, like faster moving, up tempo, and that's my music update and recommendation for you for Christmas songs. And I guess one of the things, let's do it. Let's do the marketing aspect of the podcast. Again, here it is. I bring to you, there's the poster, there's the book itself, the white version of it, not the white Christmas version, just the not sun-faded poster, but the actual book cover here. The other day, I think I was talking about this, I don't know if it was the last podcast, I was talking about the Charlie LeBeau mystery series and Charlie LeBeau, and he has a nephew. I couldn't think of what the name of the characters was. His nephew is it actually turns out the name of his nephew is Nathaniel, but he goes by Nat, and his last name is Chasing Wolf. But I could not remember it in the podcast, so I was like tiptoeing around that and consistently calling him Charlie's nephew. And maybe somebody noticed that, maybe not, maybe didn't notice that I couldn't remember the name of the character that I wrote in the book. But like I said, I think I mentioned before that this was published or copyrighted in 2011. So that's 14 years ago. So I haven't read it recently. Maybe I should read it. I probably need to read it before I work on anything related in this series, just to get up to speed on what all the characters' names are, at least, not to mention what storylines they have. But the funniest thing about that, and I mentioned this, is before I actually got the book out and started paging through trying to figure out what Charlie's nephew's name was, I went to Google and used Google AI and asked about my book, Long Hollow Charlie LeBeau mystery series. What is the name of Charlie's nephew? And so it came up with an answer, and it says, Gregory L. Heitmann has a mystery series, Charlie LeBeau Mysteries, and the nephew's name is Cody. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not what it is. I know that's not what what the nephew's name is. It's like this hallucination of AI just making it up, and I don't know. I don't know how they came up with that. Because they're supposed to be able to scan the internet and then provide you with what they came up with in their scan. And I'm not sure if there's any summary, like even like on Amazon.com, if there's a summary about this book that includes, Nat's character being mentioned. But my assumption has been that the Google AI saw this, summarized this, and saw it was set in the Midwest, and thought, well, maybe Cody's probably a name that would be a person from the Midwest, and it's a male, it's a nephew, so it's got to be a male name. So Cody, let's call him Cody. That's how it came up with. That was highly entertaining for me and very educational to know that the AI has no idea what it's doing. It has just zero credibility with what what answers you might be seeking in your questions that you might be posing to AI. I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't want to count on that for any sort of any actual guarantee that it's correct. If you need some for sure, some information for sure, I would never just trust that. I would actually double check and maybe triple check to make sure that you're getting the correct information off the internet of anything. So that was nonetheless highly entertaining to me to go through that and find out. And then actually look in the book and find out what the actual what Charlie's nephew's name actually was. And if nothing else, it made me aware that yes, I'm getting old and can't remember stuff. But then the actual lesson of that is, do not trust the internet to provide you any information, because you may be fooled horribly by what they provide. So anyway, I'll wrap up here. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about, and that's of course one of the sections of this podcast. We have a recurring section is under the license to podcast. And I did see a good license plate the other day when I was down. We went out for supper at Tomasitas, my favorite restaurant in Santa Fe here, Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's got northern New Mexican food. And so I was in the parking lot and I saw a license plate there. It was a like a Jeep, like a brand new, I don't know if it's brand new, but newer model Jeep truck. So it's got the bed instead of just like the regular seats in the back. It has a bed for hauling stuff or whatever. So it's a Jeep, whatever model that is. But it had a license plate that was J33P ETA. So it was like, I don't know, is it Japeta and why it was, or Japeta Jeep, but it was like the threes had been turned into backwards E's. And I thought it caught my eye. It was a really, really sharp look. And I'll post it in the YouTube video, a picture. I took a picture of the license plate and the Jeep itself. Nice, super sharp looking, black, shiny. It was night, so it was really reflecting. You can, if you look at the video if you watch the video, you can see the photo I'll post in there. It was reflecting at least partial image of the sign for Tomasitas on the tailgate, and you can see the license plate itself and Jeepeta or Jeepeta. So whatever it is you want to call it. Good New Mexico license plate, personalized plate there. So I enjoyed seeing that. And then, I do have something else that in the recurring segments of the podcast, I'm going to save it for next time because my throat's getting kind of sore and I'm going to end it. And but it's under the Look What I Found segment. So it's a tease for next time. So stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Colonel and the Kid podcast, which is going to be chapter 15, which is the Big Sky visit. So anyway, I'm going to sign off, and we don't say goodbye. We always say see you next time, and we'll go through the salutation here. So see you next time. Stay positive. Take action. I put it on you. Again, you are the lead character in your story, so it's up to you. Be proactive, be assertive, be positive, and I put it on you. It's up to you. So say, see you next time. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Seek, and you will find. Ask, and you shall be given. So thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Appreciate our visits, and have a great Thanksgiving, and welcome to the holiday season. So, all right. See you next time.